So over the past week, we've been taking a way too early look at which teams are in the best position to make a run at a conference championship in their respective conferences in 2021. We started with the Big 12, in which case we think there are 3 teams that are going to be vying for that 2 spot, but we think that it's most likely going to come down to Oklahoma and Iowa State. Texas looks to make it interesting between they and Iowa State, but look, at the end of the day, the Big 12 is OU's world and everybody else is just living in it, and I don't expect that to change this year. Next, we turned our attention to the Pac, in which case it's a little less interesting. We think it'll be a rematch of last year's Pac championship. Oregon returns some of the most intriguing players in the nation on defense. Kayvon Thibodeau, Noah Sewell, Justin Flo. But even though they have continuity at quarterback, I don't know how much faith you have in that continuity at quarterback, even to the degree that Ty Thompson could come in there and take that starting job, new freshman quarterback Oregon has, who we need to keep an eye on. USC, on the other hand, has been killing it in recruiting. They've been killing it on the transfer market, and they return a very good quarterback with the best receiver in the pack. And next, we turned our attention to the SEC, in which case we think that Georgia will be coming out the East and Bama out the West. Not really much to say there. And today we're going to be turning our attention to the Big Ten. But before we turn our attention to the Big Ten, there was some news coming out the SEC that could change the effect of who comes out the SEC, and we have to talk about it. So before we get into anything, I want to hear from y'all, and I'll pin this down in the comments. Do you think that Florida's acquisition of Arik Gilbert, superstar tight end, is enough to move the needle in the SEC East to where they could overtake Georgia and compete with Alabama for a conference championship in 2021? Give me a Y for yes and an N for no. Guys, as I just stated, we'll be talking about the Big Ten later, and you don't want to miss that. So be sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification so that way when that video drops, you'll be one of the first to know. And while you're here, go ahead and like the video, drop a comment down below letting me know what you think, because likes and comments go a long ways and channels like mine get picked up by the YouTube algorithm, and we're almost 2,000 subscribers, and I'd love to have y'all along for the journey. So with all that being said, let's talk about why this is so important. My people who play fantasy football, you'll know one of the first things you do when a quarterback is down and the backup quarterback is coming in, you look to see if that tight end is available on the waiver wire. Tight ends are a new quarterback's best friend in the world, along with a stable running game. Florida replaces one of the most freakish offensive players in the nation, Kyle Pitts. Another one of the most freakish offensive players in the nation, Kadarius Toney. A baller wide receiver, Traven Grimes. And then you have to replace Kyle Trask. That's a lot of production. And while I completely expect Emory Jones to come in and ball, it really helps when you can get a freakish tight end like Arik Gilbert and then a freakish running back like DeMarcus Bowman. There's not really a tight end in the nation that's going to fend off Arik Gilbert, right? He is that good. He truly, truly is that special of a player. And I think the same could be said for Bowman, but it really helps when you're able to tell them, look, we lost a ton of production on offense. We look to be able to compete again for an SEC championship, but in order for us to do that, we have to have a way to get the cogwheels on our offense rolling very quickly. One of the easiest ways to do that is with high-level tight end play, high-level running back play. It really just makes sense. And now to answer the question I posed to y'all at the beginning, do I think this is enough to move the needle? No, not this year. Not this year. And the reason is because even though you have, now maybe in the SEC East, you probably have the freakiest offensive weapon in all of the SEC East in Gilbert. The problem with that to me, is Georgia just returns way too much experience, right? Is as good as I think Bowman, as good as I think Gilbert are, Georgia just returns way too much experience, and I think that experience will actually win out. Now, the year after that, when Georgia has to start replacing some of their guys, Florida could be in a really, really scary position for everybody in the SEC because of how they're stockpiling talent. So do I think that Florida will be better than I had them projected pre the Gilbert acquisition? Yeah, I think that this acquisition right here can actually translate into one, maybe even 2 games that could have been a loss. But I still don't know if it's enough, right? I still don't know about the defense from Florida because they weren't spectacular last year by any stretch of the imagination. I still don't know about the offensive line from Florida because they weren't bad, but they weren't great. And that stuff right there is incredibly important, even with the acquisition of a just baller tight end and a baller running back, because even on the plays where those guys aren't the scheme, you have to be able to help your new quarterback, and I just don't know how Florida's going to do that. I'm not saying they can't do it. Make no mistake about it. Anybody listening, When I say I don't know how they're going to do it, I'm not saying they can't. I'm just saying in theory right now it's going to be kind of difficult because there's so much unknown to Florida. But I do think that they are going to be very good. And Florida fans, honestly, kudos to you, right? Because even if you don't repeat as the FCC East representative in the SEC championship, you just pulled two of the most freakish athletes in all of college football. Bowman and then Gilbert. You're going to be just fine. It might just take a year for you to get reacclimated to everything. But you have a good play caller, you have a great tight end, and you have a great running back. So there is something to be excited about. I just don't think that it's enough to overtake Georgia next year. But comment down below and let me know what you think, because I can't wait to hear from y'all. That's it. See ya.